The rain pounded the streets of Boston, a relentless drumbeat that drowned out the screams in my head. I was 16 again, standing in a body that wasn't supposed to be mine, staring at a world I'd already lived through and lost. My name was Elias Kane, and I'd been reborn, carrying the weight of a past life where love had turned to poison. In that first life, I loved Julian hard with every fiber of my soul. He was the golden boy of our small New England town captain of the lacrosse team, all sharp jawlines and effortless charm. But he hated me. Not the quiet kind of dislike, but a venomous, public loathing that left me bruised sometimes physically, always emotionally. I was the shy, awkward kid who dared to love him openly, and he made me pay for it. Every whispered confession, every stolen glance, was met with his scorn, his friends' laughter, and once, his fist. By the time we were 18, I was a ghost in my own life, broken by the boy I couldn't stop loving. Then, a car accident ended at Almy life. My pain, my story, or so I thought. Now, impossibly, I was back. Same town, same high school, same Julian. But this time, I swore I'd let him go. I'd learned my lesson. Some loves are better left buried. Yet as I stood under the awning of the school's entrance, watching the rain blur the world, I saw him, Julian, drenched and staring at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. His blue eyes, once cold, now flickered with something I didn't trust. "Elias," he said, voice low, almost drowned by the storm. "We need to talk." I turned away, heart hammering. There's nothing to say. But he grabbed my arm, gentle but firm, and the touch sent a jolt through me, a memory of pain. Yes, but also something warmer, something dangerous. "Please," he whispered, and I hated how that word made my resolve crack. The first week of my second life was a tightrope walk. I avoided Julian like he was a live wire, ducking into classrooms, taking longer routes home through the foggy streets of our coastal town. But he was everywhere, leaning against my locker, lingering at the edge of the soccer field where I practiced, watching me with an intensity that felt like it could burn through steel. I didn't understand it. In our past life, he'd made it clear I was nothing to him. So why was he acting like I was the center of his world now? I kept my distance, focusing on rebuilding myself. This time, I wasn't the scared kid who let love ruin him. I joined the art club, found solace in sketching the jagged cliffs of the Maine coast, and made friends who didn't know the old Elias, the one who'd been too weak to stand up to Julian's cruelty. My new friend, Mia, a fierce girl with purple-streaked hair, noticed my tension around Julian. "What's his deal?" she asked one day, tossing a soccer ball between her hands. "He stares at you like you're a ghost." "Maybe I am," I muttered, dodging her curious look. That night, I dreamed of the past. Julian's laughter, sharp as glass, as his friends tripped me in the hallway. The way he'd stood there, doing nothing, as they mocked my tear-streaked face. But then the dream shifted. Julian, alone, kneeling by a gravestone with my name on it, his shoulders shaking with sobs. I woke up gasping, the image seared into my mind. Was it a memory? A vision? Or just my heart playing tricks? The next day, Julian cornered me in the art room, the air thick with the smell of paint and turpentine. "Elias, I know you're avoiding me," he said, his voice raw. "I don't know why, but I feel like I've messed up something big. Like I've lost you before. I froze, my sketchbook slipping from my hands. His words echoed too close to the truth. You don't know me, I said, voice shaking. Just leave me alone. But he stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. I don't believe that. I feel you, Elias. Like you're part of me. I wanted to scream that he'd broken that part of me long ago. Instead, I turned and ran, leaving my sketchbook behind, my heart pounding with the fear that this life might repeat the last. By the second month, I was unraveling. Julian's persistence was relentless. He left notes in my locker, simple things like, I'm sorry, or can we start over? Written in his messy scrawl. I tore them up, but each one chipped away at the wall I'd built. My resolve to let him go was crumbling, and I hated myself for it. One evening, I found him waiting at the pier where I went to sketch the sunset. The sky was a bruise of purple and orange, the ocean restless below. He looked different, vulnerable, his usual confidence replaced by something fragile. Elias, he said, I don't know what I did to make you hate me, but I'm trying to fix it. You can't fix what you don't remember. I snapped, the words slipping out before I could stop them. His eyes widened. Remember what? I clamped my mouth shut, cursing myself. I couldn't tell him about our past life, about the pain he'd caused, about the love I'd buried. Instead, I said, just stay away. Julian, I'm not who you think I am. But he didn't. The next day, he joined the art club, claiming he wanted to try something new. I watched him struggle with a paintbrush, his hands clumsy but determined, and something in me softened. He wasn't the Julian from before, not entirely. There was a gentleness in him now, a quiet desperation to understand me. One afternoon, as we cleaned brushes side by side, he spoke softly. I had a dream about you. We were kids. And I hurt you. It felt so real. He looked at me, eyes pleading. Did I hurt you, Elias? In some way I don't remember. My breath caught. Could he be remembering? Or was it just guilt from this life? From the way he sensed my distance? I wanted to tell him everything, to scream about the years of pain. But instead, I said, you're imagining things. But that night, alone in my room, I pulled out my sketchbook. The pages were filled with him, his eyes, his hands, the curve of his smile. I'd been drawing him without realizing it, my heart betraying me. I slammed the book shut, tears burning my eyes. I'd let him go. I had to. But why did it feel like losing him all over again? Winter came to our town, blanketing the streets in snow and silencing the world. I thought the cold would keep Julian away, but it only made him bolder. He started showing up at my house, standing in the driveway with his hands stuffed in his jacket, breath fogging in the air. My mom, oblivious to the storm inside me, invited him in for hot chocolate. He seems nice, she said, smiling. I wanted to laugh. Nice wasn't a word I'd ever used for Julian Hart. But he was different now. He listened when I talked, laughed at my sarcastic jabs, and remembered small things like how I hated the taste of peppermint. Once, he brought me a sketchbook to replace the one I'd left in the art room, its cover embossed with a tiny star. I saw it and thought of you, he said, shyly. I took it, my fingers brushing his, and the warmth of his touch lingered too long. I started to see glimpses of the boy he could have been in our past life. The one who might have loved me back if hate hadn't won. But every time I softened, memories of his cruelty flooded back, his voice mocking me in front of the school. The way he'd turned away when his friends shoved me into a locker. I couldn't let myself fall again. Not when I knew how it ended. One night, at a school dance I'd been dragged to by Mia, Julian found me hiding in the bleachers. The gym was a kaleidoscope of lights and music. But up there, it was just us. He sat beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him. "Why do you keep running from me?" he asked, voice raw. "Because I know what happens when I don't," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my cheek. "I'm not that guy, Elias. I don't know what I did, but I'd give anything to take it back." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the weight of our past was too heavy. I stood, ready to leave, but he caught my hand. "Dance with me," he said, not a question but a plea. Against every instinct, I let him pull me onto the dance floor. The music slowed, and his arms wrapped around me, tentative but strong. For a moment, I let myself forget the pain, the betrayal, the death that had torn us apart. I rested my head against his chest, hearing the steady thump of his heart, and wondered if this was what redemption felt like. The dreams got worse. Every night, I saw fragments of our past life, Julian's face twisted with anger, then softened with regret. In one dream, he stood at my grave, whispering, "I didn't mean it. I didn't know." I woke up shaking, torn between wanting to forgive him and wanting to run. At school, Julian was relentless. He'd wait for me after class, walk me to the bus stop, tell me stories about his childhood, like the time he'd tried to save a bird with a broken wing, only to cry when it died. "I'm not good at fixing things," he said, his eyes locked on mine. "But I want to try. With you." I didn't know how to respond. My heart was a battlefield, love and fear clashing with every word he spoke. Mia noticed the change in me. "You're falling for him," she said one day, tossing a snowball at me as we walked home. "I'm not," I lied, brushing snow from my coat. She smirked. "Sure. But if you are, maybe give him a chance. He's not the same guy you flinch from." Her words haunted me. Was he different? Or was I just seeing what I wanted to see? That night, I found a note in my sketchbook, slipped between the pages. "I don't know why I feel like I've loved you forever," it read. "But I do." I stared at the words until they blurred, my chest aching. I wanted to believe in this Julian, the one who wrote notes, who danced with me, who looked at me like I was his world. But the past was a shadow I couldn't shake. Spring arrived, melting the snow and bringing a fragile hope. Julian and I were inseparable now, though I kept my heart guarded. We'd spend hours at the pier, sketching the waves or talking about nothing: movies, music, the stars. He never pushed me to explain my distance, but I could see the questions in his eyes. One evening, as we sat on the pier, he took my hand. "Elias," he said, voice trembling, "I don't know what's between us, but it's bigger than this life. I feel it. Do you?" I looked at him, his face lit by the fading sun, and something broke inside me. "I loved you once," I said, the words spilling out. "And you destroyed me." His face crumpled, like he'd been struck. When? How? I couldn't tell him about our past life not without sounding insane. Instead, I said, "It doesn't matter. I can't do it again." He reached for me, but I pulled away, standing. "I'm letting you go, Julian. It's better this way." As I walked away, the sound of the waves swallowed his voice calling my name. I thought I'd won, that I'd saved myself from heartbreak. But every step felt like tearing my soul in half. I thought letting Julian go would set me free. Instead, it hollowed me out. Days passed in a blur of empty routine: school, art club, home, each moment shadowed by his absence. I'd see him in the halls, his eyes red-rimmed, his usual spark dimmed. I told myself it was for the best, that I was protecting my heart. But every night, I dreamed of him, his smile, his touch, the way he'd looked at me like I was his second chance. Mia called me out one afternoon, her voice sharp as we sat in a coffee shop. "You're miserable, Elias. You love him, and you're throwing it away because of something he doesn't even remember doing." "He doesn't need to remember," I said, staring into my coffee. "I do." She sighed. "People change. Maybe he's not that guy anymore. Maybe he's the one you're supposed to be with." Her words stayed with me, gnawing at my resolve. I started noticing things: Julian volunteering at the community center, helping kids with their homework. Julian standing up to his old friends when they mocked someone in the cafeteria. Julian leaving a single daisy on my locker with a note, "I'll wait for you." I wanted to hate him. I wanted to cling to the pain of our past life, to let it shield me. But the truth was, this Julian wasn't the same. He was really trying to be better. And I was falling for him all over again. One night, I couldn't sleep. The dreams were too vivid: Julian at my grave, his hands covered in dirt, his voice breaking as he said, "I loved you too late." I sat up, heart racing, and grabbed my sketchbook. I drew him as I saw him now: soft, earnest, desperate to make things right. When I finished, I realized I was crying. The next day, I found him at the pier, sitting on our bench, staring at the ocean. He looked up as I approached, hope flickering in his eyes. "Elias." I sat beside him, my hands shaking. "I need to tell you something," I said, "and it's going to sound crazy." I told him everything: our past life, his cruelty, my love, my death. I expected him to laugh, to walk away. But he listened, his face pale, his hands gripping mine. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "I don't remember," he said finally, voice thick. "But I feel it. The guilt. The love. It's like I've been carrying it my whole life." He looked at me, eyes shining with tears. "I'm so sorry, Elias. For everything I did. For everything I was." I wanted to push him away, to hold on to my anger. But instead, I leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft, hesitant, but it felt like coming home. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine, whispering, "I won't lose you again." We rebuilt slowly. It wasn't easy. Trust doesn't heal overnight. There were days when I'd flinch at his touch, memories of the past cutting through. But Julian was patient. He showed up, every day, with small gestures: a sketch he'd drawn of us, A playlist of songs that reminded him of me. A promise to be better. One evening, as we walked through the park, autumn leaves crunching under our feet, he stopped. "I love you," he said, his voice steady. "I don't know if I deserve you, but I'm going to spend my life trying to." I looked at him, the boy who'd broken me and the man who was piecing me back together. "I love you too," I said, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a wound. We sat on a bench, the same one I'd imagined in my prompt, the plaque glinting in the twilight, a love reborn from ashes of hate. It wasn't there. Not really. But it felt like it should be. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours, a second chance carved from pain, forgiveness, and the kind of love that outlasts lifetimes. As the stars appeared above us, I realized something. Letting go hadn't saved me. Letting him in had. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point of being reborn, not to escape the past, but to rewrite it.